I've been pushed into the direction of sports ever since I can remember. Try to picture little me with a bat in my hand and a smile on my face. I went through the years of t-ball, slowly progressing and getting older and better at what I loved, softball. I guess I've always loved softball so much that I was so confident I'd be playing it for the rest of my life. Softball has a pattern. You have your certain spots, your certain plays, and the only thing you really have to memorize is your spot. Sports that have certain patterns seem to come quicker to me since you don't really have to think too hard about the next play or the next pitch. You can just play the game. What you really get to think about is how you want to swing a bat or how you want to catch the next fly ball. I thought that softball was going to be the only sport I'd ever play, and I'd only be playing softball for the rest of my life. But then, 9-year-old me found basketball. At the time, I was fearless, confident I could play, willing to try anything, and also in 3rd grade. I don't think the question, will I be good at this, ever crossed my mind. Basketball was something I always wanted to take part in. I have an older brother who was always a big influence on what I wanted to try, and seeing him exceed and excel was something that as a sister I was always so jealous about. But he quit basketball. And not that it was a competition or anything, but it was. I wanted to take that opportunity of him quitting something and try to be better than he was. I got so caught up in wanting to be good that I let my head get the best of me. I could see that other girls were getting chances at learning new skills and that I was still stuck learning the basics. This to me was my realization that maybe I'm not good enough. By around 6th grade, I gave up. I didn't try hard anymore, I was just kind of going through the motions, and that's when I knew I had to quit. The experience of wanting to be so good at something to almost entirely giving up made me really think about what went wrong. I started thinking about why it was so easy for me to give up basketball. The reason was, well, stress. I remember going to basketball practice and having to see the girls who excelled running their tournament drills on one side, and me having to be on the other learning the basics. I remember quite clearly how upset I would be going to the car and telling my parents about everything that was happening, though at the time it didn't seem like a big deal. This to me was my realization that it wasn't fun anymore. All the things that went into being a good basketball player, on top of wanting to be better than my brother, on top of all the other girls getting better than me, made me so stressed out that I just decided to give up. Although, before quitting basketball, I found another sport that really got me hooked, volleyball. Other than having trouble with learning new skills, volleyball seemed to come easy to me. It was another sport like softball that has its certain positions and certain plays, and the only thing you have to perfect is your spot. Though volleyball for the most part comes relatively easy, there was a time before playing when I remember I forgot my shoes at home. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was. We were at a tournament 45 minutes away, and I was so afraid to go tell my parents because I knew they'd be disappointed that I didn't check over my bag before we left. After telling them the whole situation, they were obviously disappointed, but my mom came to the rescue with a pair of tennis shoes. And though this did help the problem of not having any shoes, it didn't fully cure the stress of, well, not wanting to fall on my face, mostly because the shoes had no traction whatsoever. I was so worried and stressed about everything other than playing the actual game of volleyball that I knew I wasn't going to do my best. I decided then to just stop worrying about everything stressful and take it out in the game. I realized then that volleyball was another sport that I could rely on as a stronger output. Currently, I'm a part of DGSA, short for De Pere Girls Softball Association, and I also just got out of club season volleyball for the De Pere Diggers. For the most part, I work hard at what I love, but sometimes, as you can see, my own personal feelings can get in the way. Whether it's constantly checking my grades to make sure that I'm doing the best of my capability, or dealing with stress at home, sometimes my mind doesn't want to cooperate with me and I can get unfocused. Some of you may be very shocked to hear this, but nobody's life is perfect. I mean, look around. I know at least one, or maybe even two people in this room who have some sort of personal issue they're dealing with. And maybe you don't have that type of issue. Maybe what's bothering you is your friends at school, or maybe it's the fact that you don't think you have any friends. I can tell you for sure that my personal life is definitely not perfect, and I deal with a lot of my own challenges. But I'm not going to get into the details of everything going wrong in my life. No, I'm going to talk about stress. We all feel stress at some point. You've now already heard a couple stories of my stress. For everyone, it's a bit different. Do you ever feel so angry that you feel like you could just explode? Some of you may channel that stress or anger in a bad way, such as throwing a fit, screaming, or fighting the situation. Do you ever feel so sad that you think you could just cry and cry for hours? Some of you may channel this type of stress by crying or isolating yourself. Some others do not channel their stress in such a vortex of anger, and although this is also not good for you, maybe some of you just keep it all inside. Or some may take deep breaths or just focus on the positive, and that's great and all, but does it really make it go away? Although everyone really has their own way of dealing with stress, maybe this can be an alternative, or maybe even a replacement for how you do with yours. I know that you all have hobbies, and maybe you don't think you do, but you do. First off, here's how this works for me. Almost every weekend, and sometimes weekdays, I have practice for either volleyball or softball, depending on the season. And obviously, just like every other human being, I have stress. Some days more than others, but overall, it's a daily reoccurrence. For me, channeling stress was and is still not always easy. My parents can definitely vouch for me that I'm 100% guilty of lashing out at them, but that's definitely not the point here. My point here is that there's a better way, and that way is taking it out in what you love. Your hobbies, your passions, whatever you love to do. And it's not just sports either. I know that if you know me, you know I play sports, and I know what you're thinking. This is just a spiel on how you should do sports, but that's not what this is. Let me show you how this works. You don't have to close your eyes, but if it helps, do it. Picture what you love to do. Now I want you to see yourself excelling at whatever that is. It feels good, right? Now I want you to picture yourself doing really, really bad. It doesn't feel as good, right? I want you to now picture yourself getting super stressed. I want you to now take that stress and picture that bad day again. Take that feeling and turn that bad day into how you felt when you were excelling. It feels pretty good to think about, right? Stress can help you push yourself to your limit, and if you can channel your stress and look at it positively, you can use it to empower you. You can open your eyes. Through my years of softball, basketball, and volleyball, I've had some of those empowering moments. In softball, it's getting the last side of the game, hitting the winning score, or the diving catches. Through basketball, it was making the free throws or stealing the ball from the other team. In volleyball, it's the last serves, the diving, the back row hits, or the perfect passes. And all these things that seem to be just part of the game are times when stress can help you get that final hit, make that free throw, or pass that ball just right. As you can tell, sports has always been my output. Until I really learned how to utilize my stress in a positive way, it was really my way to get away from stress. Sports became my identity in a way that I can't really comprehend. Your question right now is probably, how does a talk on stress have anything to do with the fact that sports became my identity? I guess I was focusing so much on sports, like going to practices and getting away from all my stress, that it just became such a big part of my life. I've learned that running away from stress or anger is not the way to go. It's kind of like if you'd miss a ball between your legs. You gotta get up and make the play, not just stand there and wait for someone else to get it. Or maybe it's like missing a serve. You have to prove yourself by smashing the next hit, passing the next ball up just right, or serving your next one with complete accuracy. Not mope around or cry that you missed that one serve. Sports will always define me in a stronger way than it defines most people, but it will never be my identity as a whole. Defining yourself by the things you do and the stress you feel is not the way to go. Define yourself on your qualities. If you like to talk, maybe you're outgoing. If you have no fear, maybe you can be defined as courageous. Your identity is definitely not the things you do, nor the stress you feel. Your identity is not the things you do, nor the stress you feel.